Rwanda and Benin have sealed partnership deal to counter insecurity threat from jihadism in the north as a means to strengthen its security apparatus. Plus, Senegal break new ground as West Africa's largest ever proportion of women MPs amounting to 44% take their seat in the newly elected legislature. But will that make any dramatic progress on issues ranging from reproductive rights to domestic violence? Find out in this edition of the news. And those are my top stories, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining me. I am Tekewana at the anchor. We begin this day throwing our nose tentacles from Mali, where officials of Ivory Coast have accused Bamako of hostage taking after 46 of its soldiers have remained in custody despite negotiations to quench the diplomatic row between both countries. Geostrategists have advised should be at the center of debate this week when ECOWAS members meet for an extraordinary summit. Details with you, Photo.
It is hostage taking that will not remain without consequence, said a source close to the Ivorian presidency on Sunday, September 11, adding that Ivory Coast will continue to seek a solution through diplomatic channels. On Friday, Colonel Assimi Goïta, Mali ruler, mentioned necessary compensation for the advancement of the thugs. When Ivory Coast asks for the release of its soldiers, it continues to serve as a political asylum for certain Malian personalities, subject to international arrest warrants, Goïta said. Ivory Coast says the 49 troops were sent on a routine rotation for personnel who provide backup services for the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali, MINUSMA, and has called for their release. However, the mandate of the troops remained unclear and they were accused of being mercenaries. The United Nations acknowledged dysfunction in a note addressed to the Malian government and admitted that certain measures have not been followed. 3 women in the group were released according to an announcement earlier this month. Karim Keïta, the son of former Malian President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, and Tieman Ube Koulibaly, former Minister of Defense and Foreign Affairs under Keïta, could be the officials he is alluding to. The arrest of the soldiers after their arrival at Bamako Airport on July 10 has sparked a diplomatic crisis between Mali and its West African neighbor. Mali's military-led government says the troop had no orders or supporting documents and has described them as mercenaries. In mid-August, Malian prosecutors filed charges against all 49, including for alleged conspiracy and harm to state security. Talks to secure their release are ongoing. Diplomatic sources close to the talks said Mali is demanding that Ivory Coast acknowledge his responsibility in affair and express its regrets for the deployment of the soldiers. Bamako also wants Abidjan to hand over people who have been on its territory since 2013, who are wanted in Mali, said the sources. Ivory Coast has rejected both demands and is preparing for extended negotiation to free its men, they added. An extraordinary summit of the Community of West African States is to be held next week in New York on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, according to a source close to the Ivorian presidency, and he is expected to discuss the issue.
We told you that Benin and Rwanda have held talks in reference to boosting security, while Rwanda is to provide logistical support and expertise to Benin in its fights against jihadist attacks in the north, which of course they have been battling with for close to 2 years today. As you tell us, Mwanze.
Benin and Rwanda are holding discussions in reference to boosting security. Rwanda is to provide logistical support and expertise to Benin in its fight against jihadism in the north, a spokesman for the Beninese presidency announced to the public. Benin's army is presently deployed in the northern region to contain jihadist groups in neighboring Niger and Burkina Faso, which carry out attacks on both civilians and the army. An estimated number of 350 Rwandan elements will be initially deployed, a figure which could double. According to a statement from the Rwandan Ministry of Defense, the Chief of Staff of the Beninese Armed Forces, General Fructueux Guadigi, visited Rwanda last July for bilateral talks aimed at deepening existing relations between the two armies. Coastal countries such as Benin, Togo, Ghana and Ivory Coast are seeking to strengthen their military posture to secure their borders with Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso after a series of raids. They are now concerned about the possible recruitment of jihadist groups from amongst the population. Last year, the Rwandan army deployed about 1,000 troops to northern Mozambique to assist Maputo in its anti-jihadist fight. According to sources, Rwandan troops have been amongst the most effective and frequently deployed for combat operations in northern Mozambique.
Let's make a stop now over in Senegal, where we are told that over 44% of MPs of the elections upcoming are going to be women. Many have been asking the question, will this actually help to resolve the issue of reproductive rights as well as that of domestic violence? We put this question to our reporter, Ewane Epole, and here comes her findings.
The law on parity brought by President Macky Sall in 2012, which enshrines 50-50% equality between men and women in all elections, is being effectively implemented. More than 44% of seats in Senegal's next National Assembly will be held by women. However, hopes for dramatic progress on issues ranging from reproductive rights to domestic violence also have to be balanced with political reality. The alert has been given to incoming female members of parliament by those already in power that the future is not going to be a smooth journey for them. The law of parity allows women to have a say on the national budget, express their concerns and needs in the parliament, and show the society that women can equally be qualified. There are a number of campaigns in the country to show that women can bring another culture of governing. There are campaigns to grant equal parental rights to both parents. Also, Senegal only permits abortion so as to save the life of pregnant women, but the task force, an alliance of civil society and medical associations, campaigns for the case of rape and incest to be included in permitting abortion. Other campaigns are pushing to raise the age of marriage from 16 to 18 for girls. For this, according to Maimouna Yode, head of women's organization, it will enable them to continue school and be at the same terms of right as boys. 73 seats out of 165 parliamentary seats will be held by women, and the civil society groups campaign hard for a female speaker at the assembly. For them, a woman in power will bring a lot of changes in the 2022-2027 parliament in Senegal.
From one political issue to another, we make a stop this time around in Tunisia, where Tunisia's main opposition alliance, the National Salvation Front, has announced a boycott of the December legislative polls set to replace parliament, which was dissolved by the president. The reason for the announced boycott is the content of this report proposed to us by Mwanze.
Tunisia's main opposition alliance, led by Ahmed Najib Chebi, have announced plans of not participating at the December legislative elections. The elections are set to replace parliament, which was dissolved by President Kais Saied. For over a year and a half now, parliament in Tunisia has been suspended.
The National Salvation Front has decided to boycott the upcoming legislative elections for several reasons. First of all, it's an anti-constitutional process. Sir Kais Saied has absolutely no right to overthrow the institutional regime that was in place and to move towards the development of a constitution and the establishment of another system.
According to the coalition, the December 17 polls will be held under a body which is devoted to the president.
Today, no one participates with him in the elaboration of this electoral law. Sir Kais Saied therefore isolates himself in his bubble and does not discuss with anyone. He does not recognize anyone. Consequently, we cannot speak of any dialogue between the authority and the opposition, which includes other political forces and the civil society.
A new constitution was approved in July with over 90% of votes. Many Tunisians, tired of what they saw as a corrupt system established after the 2011 revolution, backed the president during the 2022 Tunisian constitutional referendum, which was held on July 25th and organized by the Independent High Authority for Elections. Tunisia is currently facing economic crisis as the country's growth is just at 3%, with 40% of young people jobless in a population of 12 million. For weeks, the heavily indebted country has been negotiating a new loan with the International Monetary Fund (IMF), hoping to obtain $4 billion and also a chance to open other avenues of foreign aid, mainly European.
Kenya is few hours away from the inauguration of President-elect William Ruto. The ceremonial sword and a copy of Kenya's constitution shall be handed to the new president this Tuesday, September 13, and we are told that over 20 head of states have been invited to take part in that ceremony. As you tell us, Ewane Epole.
Uhuru Kenyatta is expected on Tuesday to hand over the instrument of power, including a ceremonial sword and a copy of Kenya's constitution, to the president-elect William Ruto. The latter will be the first to take the oath of office, becoming Kenya's fifth president since independence. He will be followed by his deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. The Assumption of the Office President Act provides that the deputy president-elect shall take and subscribe to the oath or affirmation of allegiance and oath or affirmation for the execution of the functions of the office in accordance with the Constitution. Note that this inauguration ceremony will be less costly compared to that of Kenyatta in 2017, for which taxpayers paid over 300 million shillings. This time around, the Kenyan Treasury Department has provided 200 million shillings, or about $1.6 million, for the inauguration ceremony. According to local media, about 20 heads of state have been invited to attend the ceremony. The communication team of Kenya's president-elect has offered exclusive broadcast rights to MultiChoice Kenya Limited, an affiliate of South Africa Pay TV Group, arguing the group will provide a channel for the rest of Africa. Although KBC, the national broadcaster, has a minority shareholding at MultiChoice Kenya Limited, local journalists and media organizations have criticized the move.
We go over to Kenya, where after multiple failed attempts to restore peace in Ethiopia's troubled Tigray region, the Tigrayan rebels have finally agreed to hold talks with representatives from the African Union, which they hope will lead to permanent ceasefire after 2 years of unrest. Njix Nabise tells us more.
After several attempts to restore peace in Ethiopia's conflict-hit Tigray region, the Tigrayan rebels say they are ready to take part in peace talks led by the African Union. These will remove an obstacle to potential negotiations with the government to end almost 2 years of fighting. The announcement was made amid a flurry of international diplomacy after fighting flared last month for the first time in months in northern Ethiopia, torpedoing a humanitarian truce. The government of Tigray is prepared to participate in a robust peace process under the auspices of the African Union, said a statement by the authorities in the northernmost region of Tigray. Furthermore, we are ready to abide by an immediate and mutually agreed cessation of hostilities in order to create a conducive atmosphere, the statement added. There was no immediate commitment from the Ethiopian government, which has long insisted that any peace process must be brokered by the Addis Ababa headquartered AU. But the Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF had until now vehemently opposed the role of AU's Horn of Africa envoy Olusegun Obasanjo, protesting at his proximity to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.
Sunday's statement made no mention of any preconditions for talks, although it said it expected a credible peace process with mutually acceptable mediators as well as international observers. TPLF leader Debretsion Gabriel Michael had earlier this month proposed a truce with 4 conditions, including unfettered humanitarian access and the restoration of essential services in Wastrik and Tigray. In a letter to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he had also called for a withdrawal of Eritrean forces from across Ethiopia and for troops to pull out of Western Tigray, a disputed region claimed by both Tigrayans and Amharas, the country's second largest ethnic group. Will this work out for Tigray? Just the future holds answers.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, that last report by Jixna Bisepo to wrap to today's English Primetime Newscast on For You Television. On behalf of the entire team on duty, I want to thank all immensely for your kind attention. On to meet again tomorrow for what must have made news in Africa. God bless Motherland Africa. Bye-bye.